All right, this story is called Loud Mouse and it was written by Richard Wilbur. Once there was a mother mouse who had four little baby mice. The four little mice and their mother lived in the house of Mr. and Mistress Arthur L. Dow. Mr. and Mrs. Dow lived in the rooms of the house, and the little mice and their mother lived inside the wall. Now, I don't know if you can see this picture. Can you?
I can't see them looking in the wall. Wait, yes, no, I can see them in the wall. I can see them.
One day, the mother mouse thought that the time had come for a talk with her children.
Mm-hmm.
Children, she said, you are big little mice now, and I think you're ready to go and be on your own. Go where you like and find your own food. But first, let me tell you some things to remember. Mr. Dow does not know that we live in his house. And if he found out, he would not like it at all. Oh, no, no, no. You must always take care not to be seen. When you are hungry and you want to visit the kitchen, wait until night when Mr. Dow is asleep. Don't leave any tracks on the kitchen floor. And above all, never make any noise. I hear you, Mama, said the first little mouse. I hear you, Mama, said the second little mouse. I hear you, Mama, said the third little mouse. I hear you, Mama, said the fourth little mouse very loudly. Be quiet, child, said Mother Mice. Yes, be quiet, you loud mouse, said the other little mice. And Loud Mouse was his name from that time on. Loud Mouse, said his mother.
Maybe he'll be so loud and wake them up.
Hold on.
I'm scared.
Loud Mouse, said his mother. Just you listen to me. You must not talk in that bad loud way. Because if you do, Mr. Dow will hear you. And if he hears you, he will know that there are mice in his house, and he will go and buy a mouse trap or a cat. A mouse trap? Said Loud Mouse very loudly. What's that? Oh, be quiet, child, said his mother. Now listen to me, and I'll teach you a little song about traps, so you will always remember what they are. The little mice sat still and listened while their mother very quietly sang them this song. If you see a thing that's a piece of wood and a kind of string and a hook and a bar and a bite of cheese that looks very good, don't touch it, please. Stay where you are. Take care or snap! You'll be caught in a trap. Now you know what a trap is like, said Mother Mouse. Yes, Mama, said the three quiet little mice. Yes, Mama, the Loud Mouse said very loudly. But what's a cat? Oh, be quiet, child, said his mother. Now listen again and I'll teach you a little song about cats so that you'll never forget what a cat is like. The little mice sat still and listened while Mother Mouse very quietly sang this song. If you see a thing with eyes that glow, which looks as though it's about to spring, and it's as furry and have four paws and a tail and claws and a face that's fat, leave in a hurry, 'cause that's a cat. Oh, Mama! Yes, Mama, said the three quiet little mice. Yes, Mama, said Loud Mouse very loudly. Be quiet, everyone told him. But Loud Mouse could not learn to talk quiet at all. He wanted to be nice and do what his mother told him, but every time he said something, he made a big noise. One night, Mr. and Mrs. Dow were sitting in the living room, and Mr. Dow said, "Oh, Jane, I think there might be a lion in the wall." Oh dear, said Mrs. Dow. "Oh, you're just being funny. There isn't room for a lion inside that wall." "Well," said Mr. Dow, "something inside that wall just made a very loud noise. Did you hear it?" Oh, come to think of it," said Mrs. Dow, I have been hearing noises in this house for about a week. And I told myself I must be dreaming. Just then, Loudmouth said something inside the wall. He talked so loudly that it almost made the house fall down. "I'm pretty sure that it's just a mouse," said Mr. Dow. "But it must be a very loud mouse." Really, we must do something," said Mrs. Dow. "Please remember to buy a mouse trap tomorrow," said Mrs. Dow. I guess I shall have to," said Mr. Dow. "I really like mice, but I don't see how we could put up with so much noise." The next night, when Mr. and Mrs. Dow had gone to bed, Loudmouth was hungry. "I think I'll go to the kitchen," he said to himself. Now, only when Loudmouth spoke to himself, he spoke quietly. "I think I'll go to the kitchen and I'll eat some of that fine cheese which Mrs. Dow has just bought." So he stuck his head out of the hole in the living room wall and looked around to be sure that everyone had gone. On the floor, not far away from the hole, sat a trap with a nice piece of cheese in it. Now, Loudmouth did not know what it was. There it is. Can you see that?
Yes. Mhm.
My, he said to himself, "what a nice piece of cheese." Loudmouth came out of the hole in the wall and walked over to the trap and started to take a bite of the cheese. But something made him stop and think. He looked hard at the trap and he remembered his mother's song, and he sang to himself, "If you see a thing that's a piece of wood and a kind of string and a hook and a bar and a bite of cheese that looks very good, don't touch it, please. Stay where you are. Take care or snap, you'll be caught in a trap." "Ow!" said Loudmouth, as loud as always, and jumped back from the trap. "It's a trap! It's a trap! It's a bad, bad trap!" Mr. Dow heard the noise out of the bed and ran down to the first floor. He was just in time to see Loudmouth hop back into his hole, calling out loudly to his family. "Watch out! Watch out!" said Loudmouth. "There's a bad, bad trap in the living room." Mr. Dow went back to bed and he said to Mrs. Dow, "Oh, Jane, that loud animal is a mouse, all right. But I don't think we're going to catch him with a trap. He knows what it is, and he's just going to tell his whole family about it." "Well, well," said Mrs. Dow, "there's only one thing to do. Oh, dear Mr. Dow, you must go to the pet shop tomorrow and buy a cat." I guess I have to," said Mr. Dow, "because we really can't put up with all that noise." The next night, when Mr. and Mrs. Dow had gone to bed, Loudmouth was hungry again. He said to himself, "I could do with a bite of that fine cheese in the kitchen." So he stuck his head out of the hole in the living room wall and looked all around. He was happy to see that the trap was gone. But in its place, there was something else. Something bigger.
Ew. It's a
The
big
cat's so
bad cat.
ugly.
I know.
It's cute but fat.
I know.
It's cute but fat.
I know.
It's a bad.
It's a cat. Now, Loudmouth did not know that the cat was a cat, and he wanted to find out what kind of thing it was. So he came out of the hole in the wall and walked right up to the cat, to where the cat was sitting. Look at Loudmouth.
Oh, this is creepy. I hope he doesn't die.
He's not.
Don't
I
hit
mean,
him.
he isn't bad.
He was about to say hello, and then something made him stop and think. He didn't like the look on the cat's fat face, and the words of his mother started to come back to him. So he sang to himself, "If you see a thing with eyes that glow, which looks as though it's about to spring, and if it's furry and have 4 paws and a tail and claws and a face that's fat, then leave in a hurry, 'cause that's a cat." "Help!" said young Loudmouth very loudly. "It's a cat! It's a cat! It's a bad, bad cat!" The cat was so surprised to hear a mouse make so much noise that it jumped up in the air, fell on its back, and then ran away as fast as it could. Mr. Dog, Mr. Dog got out of bed and came downstairs just in time to see Loudmouth hop back inside his hole, calling loudly to his family. "Watch out, everybody!" called Loudmouth. "There's a bad, bad cat in the living room!" The cat was hiding under a chair, holding its paws over its ears.
Oh,
That's so cute.
I can't see. Oh,
The cat is here.
Oh.
Mr. Dow went back to bed and said to Mrs. Dow, "Jane, that cat is not going to be much good and help to us. It was so surprised to hear a big noise from a mouse that now it's afraid of mice. Tomorrow morning, I'll take the cat back to the pet shop." Oh dear, said Mrs. Dow. "But what are we to do? We can't put up with all this noise." "Well, for one, I'm going to sleep," said Mr. Dow. The next night, when Mr. and Mrs. Dow had gone to bed, Loudmouth was very hungry. After all, he had not had anything to eat for 3 days.
3? I'm tired too.
"I really must get some of that fine cheese in the kitchen," he said to himself. So he stuck his head out of the hole in the living room and looked around. Oh, was he glad to see that there was no trap waiting for him and no cat. But just in that minute, a funny thing happened. The living room window was quietly opened from the outside, and a man climbed into the room. He was a bad-looking man with a cap on his head and a bag on his back, and he walked across the room without making any noise at all. He was as quiet as a mouse. Well,
Excuse me.
yes.
Did you know he's actually loud for a good reason? That's a robber, I think. I think he's gonna yell and stuff.
Okay, we'll see. The robber was as quiet as most mice are. At first, Loudmouth could not guess what the man was up to because he had never seen a robber before. The robber turned on a light in the living room and started taking things. He took a gold box from the end table and put it in his bag. Then he took the candlestick from above the fireplace and put them in his bag too. Loudmouth watched what the man was doing, and he said to himself, there is something not right about this. But I really don't think he should be taking all those things. After a while, the robber carried his bag into the next room, and Loudmouth went along, keeping an eye on him. The man looked into all kinds of places and took all kinds of things. He took cups and glasses and a pretty bowl from the top of the dining table. I still don't seem right for him to take all those things, Loudmouth was thinking to himself. After all, he doesn't even live here. At last the robber had put so much stuff into his bag that there wasn't room for anything more. He set down the bag, walked into the kitchen, turned on the light, and started hunting for something to eat. So here's the robber.
The tiny mouse following him.
Loudmouth hopped after him and hid on their kitchen chair, where it was so dark that he could not be seen. When Loudmouth looked out from under the chair, what do you think he saw? Maya, what do you think he saw? Huh? Don't guess it.
Huh?
What do you think Loudmouth saw when he looked out from under the chair?
Who is that? Me or Aman?
Okay, you. What do you think?
The cat?
All right, we'll see. I'm not going to let Imani answer because I read the story to her already. The man had caught a piece of the fine cheese and he was about to eat it. Oh, that was too much for Loudmouth. He couldn't stand it. He knew that man had no right to take that cheese. Robber! Said Loudmouth, more loudly than he had ever said anything. What makes you think you can eat our cheese? Said Loudmouth. The robber gave a start and his cap fell off on the floor. He turned around to see who was there, but there was nothing to be seen. That made him even more afraid, and so he ran as fast as he could to the living room and jumped right through the window, head first.
That's so funny.
Loudmouth could hear Mr. and Mrs. Dowd talking to each other and getting out of bed. He picked up the piece of cheese which the robber had let fall, and he ran back into his hole in the living room wall. And Mr. and Mrs. Dowd when they got down to the first floor, Mr. Dowd looked at the open window. Then he looked into the next room and he saw the bag on the floor. Then he remembered. Loudmouth cried for robber. And he turned to Mrs. Dowd and he said, oh my, Jane, oh my, I think we're going to be friends with this Loudmouth after all. He just stopped a robber from taking all our best things. Mrs. Dowd looked at the bag and said, oh no, my lovely bowl, and what my cut glass candlesticks, oh no, and look, my gold box. Oh, to think they would have all been gone if it hadn't been for that mouse. It looks like to me, said Mr. Dowd, as if a watch mouse is just as good as a watchdog. For from now on, I'm going to be very kind to that mouse and make him feel right at home. And that's just what he did. From that time on, Mr. and Mrs. Dowd had left some nice cheese in front of the mouse hole every day. Sometimes it was fine old cheese which had come by boat from other lands. Loudmouth and his whole family ate very well and are right at home. And you may be sure that Loudmouth keeps an eye out for robbers every night. And here's the song. If you see a thing that is small in size, with a tail that's long and has two bright eyes, which likes to bite, which likes a bite of cheese at night, and makes more noise than a pair of boys. Remember to sing this remembrance song, and be very nice to the best of mice. You're looking at Loudmouse, who lives in the dollhouse. And that's the end of the story of Mr. Loud Mouse, who saved the dolls from a robber and became their watch mouse instead of watchdog.
Is it the one what?
I remember growing up and listening to my mom tell stories. She would create stories. She would tell the stories that, she knew as a child. And we would all climb onto the bed and at night and couldn't wait for her to tell us stories. And I loved that memory. And when I got older, I started telling stories to my 3 younger siblings. And then as I grew up and had children of my own, I told stories to them, my 3 kids, and now I'm telling stories to my grandkids. And like my mom, I create stories, I read stories that I've from my childhood. So you'll see stories that I've created, that I've improvised on, or from my childhood. And this story is about Loudmouse. I particularly like the story Loudmouse because I know each family has one person that always speaks very loudly. I know for me it was my youngest, my son, Brad. And once again, it's for my youngest granddaughter, Jojo. She is the loud mouse in our family. So sit back, enjoy Loud Mouse.